button and
all right, this is the Vice Chair, Jay Knight, for the Budget Advisory Committee, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. I need one person to, what is it? Yeah, I'm sorry, roll call first.
it's just a single. I mean, it's small.
Okay.
Laura Cooper, Budget Advisory Committee.
Andrew Forlines, Budget Advisory Committee.
Nevin Mondel with the Budget Advisory Committee.
Tim Dodd, Deputy City Manager.
Sean Lewis, City Manager.
Kevin Ingalls, Finance Manager, or excuse me, Finance Director.
Jenny Nolan, Budget Manager.
All right, thank you. Who do we have online?
Hammer Niles, City Attorney.
All right, excellent, thank you.
And this is James Horan, Budget Advisory Committee. And the volume is, I have my volume all the way up and it's pretty poor. I don't know if others online are experiencing that.
I can hear it just fine, but
Okay.
I have a city computer too, so I have a advantage.
I can hear you very well, but not the group in the room there, so.
We'll talk louder.
Approval of minutes, move to approve the meeting minutes for October 2nd, 2025.
I'll move.
And a second.
Seconded.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to any public comment. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, all in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you for keeping me in check. Now, recognition of public comment, if there is any. Doesn't seem to be any. And moving on to new business. So we have department presentations. I believe City Attorney's Office is up first.
We changed the order a little bit. We're going to start with the City Manager, if you don't mind, Chair.
Sure.
Thank you for allowing us to go first. We appreciate it. So yeah, Sean and I represent the City Manager's Office. We're a relatively small department, kind of a unique department. The city is, of course. So we'll talk a little bit more later about what that means. This is where we're starting today, the 2025 Estimated Funds Return to Fund Balance. Right now, we're not estimating any, and I'll talk a little bit more as to why as we go through the presentation in terms of what we've been working on this year. Next slide, please. So we have several accomplishments. So, and Jenny, so the slides that I included around the organizational chart, are those in the appendix? Or okay, so I'll just quickly, so you it'll help probably to explain how we're organized before we launch into this. So the City Manager's Office is a relatively small department. There are there's actually kind of 4 divisions that are tied to the CMO, and I'll talk a little bit more about that structure. So the core of the CMO is what we call the administration division, and that's City Manager Lewis and I, plus the City Manager's Executive Assistant, Krista Gravy, as well as 2 interns. We also, though, do have a sustainability division that includes 2 individuals. We share them with 2 other cities. So the sustainability program manager also is the sustainability program manager for the city of Sheridan. And then the green business coordinator is the green business coordinator for Sheridan, Littleton, and Englewood. So all of the employees I just went over, admin division and sustainability division, are fully budgeted as part of the City Manager's Office. However, we also have 2 other divisions that have a little bit of a uniqueness to them. So first is data and analytics. This is a 2-person team, and they are budgeted. They are part of the IT department. but they also have a dotted line to me, and they participate in our department meetings. And that was done a couple of years ago for a few reasons. But one is because a lot of the products that they build, like mapping, dashboards, things like that, do connect with a lot of the citywide work that we do in the CMO. And then facilities is actually a grouping of 3 divisions. This was actually a part of Public Works for several years. But last year in August, we made the decision with moving some other things around that it made sense to align facilities. In a lot of cities, it is in Public Works. In some larger cities, it's in a department, like in Denver, for example, called General Services. And so a lot of the work facilities does, in a way, really connects to other administrative departments, right? So it connects closely with finance, HR, IT. And so we wanted to kind of see how it would work to have it be a part of the CMO. It's still budgeted in the Public Works Department, but that brought about 14 FTEs into the CMO. It includes a facilities manager who just started on Monday, as well as 3 division supervisors, custodial, which we partially contract out, partially is in-house, maintenance, which is fully in-house, and then also capital projects. We have a city architect and then a project administrator. And now I'll go back. Sorry, I think it just made more sense to explain that way so we didn't get lost here. In terms of accomplishments, first, for facilities, so it's only been in our office for a few months, but the first thing we did was we hired a facilities manager. It's a unique skill set for sure. We hired someone who comes to us from the private sector, is a certified architect, has several years of experience managing very large teams and large capital projects. So she's started on Monday and already going well. We also are working on a work order management system. Right now, one does not exist. So if you are an employee or even from the outside and you have a facilities issue, you email an email account called facilities@inglewoodco.gov. In January, that's going to change, and we're going to have a ticketing system in place. It's also going to tie into asset management, work orders, etc. We're also working to pilot something called Up for Grabs, and this will be a way of recycling office furniture right now. Some of it's been surplus, some of it's sitting in a building at the service center and not being used, and so we want to engage our employees in recycling it. We're also creating a series of on-call contracts. So right now, we haven't had a great way. So, for example, we do have folks working in the maintenance group who, for example, know doors and keys or know plumbing or electrical work. But there's some things we just don't have the capacity to do, or some things that really just require additional assistance. And so we're working through, hopefully developing about 12 different on-call contracts that will help us in those areas. And then we also recently finished a remodel. If you haven't been to the library recently, I'd encourage you to go. It looks fresh, I guess is a good word for it. Data and analytics. We have on our, and you may find this interesting because I know several of you are interested in performance metrics. They built a little over a year ago a dashboard which has about 78 metrics that are updated quarterly. We've kept the updates going. It's gone pretty well. They also worked with me and a few others to develop AI guidelines, obviously artificial intelligence, for the city, and thanks to the city attorney's office for their assistance and work with it. We've also basically had a few different sessions for employees to learn more about AI and how they can use it as a tool. And also, you may be familiar with a system called AngleFix. This division also worked with me to create more standards and guidelines for how that system is used for community members to share quality of life issues with the city, and we trained over 100 employees on how to do it. Next slide, please. Sustainability. So again, we've had a lot of accomplishments here. One of the big ones we worked on a climate resiliency framework. We actually had an intern who was funded by a group called ICLEI, which is a nonprofit that works with cities across the world on sustainability issues. And so he is now the city manager's office intern. He's a city employee part-time. But before that, he was doing this work. And it was a way of engaging the community to understand risks. There's a lot of ideas. This went to council a few weeks ago, so if you're interested, you can find the whole report there through iCompass, through our agenda management system. We also held several events. That's a big focus of Mel England, our manager. in this division is to focus on how we can engage the community. So she works really closely with other divisions, including communications and SPR and others. She is working on what will be, I think, our 4th Earth Day celebration. One was technically canceled because of weather, but I'll count that as the 4th one. Fix It Clinic happened a few weeks ago. This is a way of bringing people together to repair old things so you're not throwing them out and buying them new on Amazon. And then also community resiliency workshops. And also we have our green business program has been very successful. That brings me to the next bullet. So we now have 51 businesses that are a part of this program. Essentially, it's a program where the state provides a framework, but then cities basically build their own program. And it really does 2 things for businesses. One, for as you know, in the last several years, there have been a lot of state laws and state mandates around plastic bag bans, polyester, aka styrofoam bans. And so what they do is for businesses that are feeling kind of the pinch or the pressure, they provide us technical assistance to help them mitigate those challenges. But then businesses that really want to go more green, they provide resources on how to do that. An example of that is Frame to Art on Broadway. They were throwing away on their glass, broken glass, which, as you can imagine, a frame shop has quite a bit of that because they didn't know what else. There wasn't another good place to take it. So the Green Business Coordinator, Aiden Lawton, help them find a place to recycle it. We also have a sustainability grant program that's been successful, and this is a way of incubating projects in the community. We also received a grant from the state to start to install more electric vehicle charging stations. That's in progress. We also manage the Garden in the Box program and lawn replacement programs in addition with our utilities department. And then we also, and this is a pretty big one, we worked, and it wasn't, we didn't get money from it, but we got a technical assistance grant from the state to work with Sheridan, Littleton, and Centennial on basically studying waste diversion. This went to council as well with some ideas for the future. We have set up, for example, as part of this, a composting program. So if you live in Inglewood, you can compost behind the rec center. There's a fee per month that you pay. We also do hazardous waste at your door. That's another successful thing that we've done as waste diversion. Next slide, please.
And I'll take over discussing homelessness mitigation under accomplishments. And thank you again, Tamara, for letting us go first. We're trying to get down to the community calendar student art competition reception. So we will be heading out after this. But in homelessness, we've really worked a lot with our partners through the Tri-Cities Homelessness Policy Initiative. Sheridan and Littleton are those partners. The county is also involved. And working with all of those jurisdictions, as well as Congressman Crow, we were able to secure funding to build and finally open Bridge House Ready to Work. And that is a facility that's now taking people that are unhoused and giving them a place to live for 1 year. And they get training. There's culinary training and landscaping training are the main areas. We are hiring a crew of folks who are in that training program. Sheridan hires a crew, Littleton hires a crew, and then they also work with some private landscape companies. So we're hoping they have a very high success rate in the 70% range, which is really kind of unheard of in this work. The other thing that we've done in partnership with Bridge House is implemented a new navigation center. So a little more than half of the building is for Ready to Work, that dorm style housing and job training, and the other half has 26 shelter beds. And they're navigating people that come in. They need temporary assistance. They navigate you to Social Security benefits, to, if you're a veteran, to veterans benefits. Just a way of getting people connected to resources, food, clothing, and that sort of thing, and even housing. In the first few months that they were open, they had hundreds of people that they had already served just on the navigation side. And so we're really excited about the work. Talked to our police staff a few weeks ago. They've really been, working with them to drop people off there and give them rides there and get them navigated and get them some temporary shelter. We also have started a process for families experiencing homelessness. That's the other part of our Tri-Cities Action Plan. So we just all approved to the scope of work for and hired a nonprofit that's going to be handling our lead service provider for families. Most of the work that's been done so far has been kind of on the single adult side. So we're really moving into the family side. We're also moving into permanent supportive housing. And working in some of those areas. And last on this one is we've really led the regional efforts to develop severe weather sheltering processes and protocols. Our former management fellow, Liz Ramsey, did a fantastic job of putting together a committee. Councilmember Wright served on that, had a lot of success bringing a lot of different agencies together on how we provide both heat and cold severe weather sheltering protocols. On the affordable housing side, that's really been where a lot of progress has been made this year. So we partnered with community development, our housing authority, and a group of residents that created, it was an affordable housing task force. They gave recommendations to council. Then we took those recommendations to council and asked them to develop specific goals. So they set goals for where we want to be in 5 years, in 10 years. And they also directed staff to create a 20-year affordable housing plan. As part of that, we have got funding in a fund called Fund 46. It is a fund that has long been in the city that can only be used for affordable housing. We've done emergency repairs out of it for several years, but it's got a pretty healthy balance. And we have decided, council has authorized us to use this for a new affordable housing program manager. And Tim, and a great process, has selected that individual, and he will be starting in December. So we're really excited to have our first affordable housing manager. Next slide. On the general government side, our executive assistant, Krista Gravy, runs a program called Elevate Inglewood. We're graduating about 20 people a year. We would love to see all of you all, if you haven't already been through that. Join Elevate Inglewood. The application will open in December, and it gets started in, I think, February. But it's a 9-week program. You meet council, you meet county commissioners, you meet school officials, the nonprofit community. We really try to give you a good overview of the community. We also entered into a council-approved IGA with the city of Sheridan for a shared training program. So now they're participating in some of our internal training programs. We became one of 20 nationwide finalists for the prestigious All-America City Award in recognition of our efforts to engage the community in those sustainability efforts that Tim covered a moment ago. That was kind of the theme for this year. We're really proud to be top 20 for that. In emergency management, Tim is our point of contact for that. We've worked with our county partners to hold 2 tabletop exercises that give us hands-on experience with a scenario that we present to the staff, and we have to respond in the moment. And we have guidance from our partners giving us advice on that kind of after the fact. We also partner with the county to complete a 5-year update to the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. And lastly, community engagement. We've led an effort in partnership with the Communications Department and Community Development to engage 75 community members in the framework for South Broadway. You may have heard we've got kind of two things going on at once. We're about to start a new streetscape project in December that will start renovating the sidewalks and getting some landscaping and some street lights on South Broadway. At the same time, we're already well into developing a plan to revitalize South Broadway, whether that be grants for businesses to renovate their facade, to recruit new businesses, looking at housing opportunities. So Tim is also heading that up. You'll see a theme here with Tim and the work he's doing in our department. And then we've also really done a lot of work with our community development department to work with council and get an agreement over the finish line, a first agreement, if you will, with a company called an LLC called New Inglewood. And that is a development company that has formed as a partnership that will be working with us to completely redevelop City Center. So we're really excited to be working with them. A lot of work. Now we start the community engagement process and getting additional agreements that help make that a reality. Long time in coming. And then last but not least, I, with Krista's help, are holding briefings. Hopefully some of you have been invited to those. We invite our boards and commissions. We invite all of the alumni of our police, planning, and Elevate Inglewood academies. And we're really trying to engage the public and giving them a lot of information. I've been told it's overload, but in terms of trying to give information to engaged residents about what's going on in the community. So I think that wraps us up with just to close with partnerships. These are the departments that we work with. Obviously, we work with all departments as the city manager's office, but these are some of the specific projects that we did this year. And what else?
Yeah, I think I have a few more slides.
Go ahead. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so a few challenges faced. So I think, so I will say too, like all these challenges obviously are not just challenges for us, they're challenges for you living in the city. They're challenges for other city departments and other governmental entities. So the first is revenues, and I'm sure Kevin will talk more about. But as revenues do increase, the increases are not keeping pace with expenses. And I say that in a way to say that we have, I think, really held things tight. However, and as you know, and you're outside of here, right, when you go to buy something at the grocery store, it costs more than it did 2 years ago. And so inflationary costs are impacting government expenses the way they're impacting everything else related to that. Inflation and supply chain issues. Supply chain issues have definitely gotten better, but they still exist, and there still are occurrences where we, go to buy materials and things like that, and a few months later they cost more than they did a few months before. And then housing, as Sean mentioned, housing, of course, is a challenge. It's something we're really excited about the new Affordable Housing Program Manager, as Sean mentioned, coming on board. Their first year, they're going to be building a 20-year affordable housing plan as directed by council. They're also going to be doing a lot involving community engagement, which would include things like workshops on how to buy a home, how to stay in an apartment, how to stay in your home, all kinds of stuff like that, and engage the community through our Home is Key campaign. Next slide, please. So the CMO is kind of unique in that we don't have direct capital projects, but we kind of now do because we oversee facilities. And so I'm working, and she's only been in the job for 4 days, but the new facilities manager and I are trying to get a better handle on kind of capital needs for facilities, what the existing budget looks like. We do think the work order management system is going to help us do more very comprehensive, both preventative and proactive maintenance. And so we hope within a year to have more data and use data to inform our future requests for facilities capital projects. We also are implementing, that was approved by council a few months ago, a energy efficiency project that includes several city facilities, and then also just really trying to create in the next year or so a much more comprehensive approach to evaluating facilities capital requests. And that's it.
Thank you all for putting that presentation together. I appreciate some of the deep dives into school projects.
Seemed like a pretty full year.
We're glad to answer any questions. Otherwise, I think we have the city attorney's office next.
It looks like there's no questions. So yes, we can move on whenever we are ready.
Thank you. Again, as I said, my name is Tamara Niles. I'm the city attorney. I've been the city attorney since June 2021. And initially, I want to thank you all for letting me attend this meeting remotely. It's not something I normally do. And so I really appreciate the flexibility with your committee to be able to do this. So we too are a very small department, and I can't, we made this presentation so long ago, I can't recall if our org chart is in it as well. But it's me as the city attorney, the deputy city attorney. We have an assistant city attorney, an admin who is working on her paralegal certificate. I also oversee municipal court prosecution, and we transitioned from 2 FTE in prosecution to 1 contract prosecutor last year or the year before, and then this year I also took on risk management. So we hired a risk manager and are developing that program. So this budget that you see is for city attorney office, or we often refer to it as CAO. So CAO's civil and prosecution budget. So this doesn't include the risk management. That's actually a separate budget. But we were able to we had a long-term vacancy this year. We hired our intern from last summer, and he didn't graduate from law school and take the bar until August. So that meant we had to outsource some of our funds. So we anticipate that we will come in right at budget. However, I just checked today, and we're after October, we should be at 83% of our budget, and we're at 75. So as of today, it looks like we may be able to return some money to the general fund due to that vacancy, but we've got two long months ahead. So we'll see. But I always try to come in, of course, at or under budget. Last year, I think I returned $500 to the general fund. So next slide, please. So this is for risk management. Of course, we have the new risk manager, so we have personnel there. Previously, the risk management fund paid for a portion of an employee's salary in finance and a portion of an employee's salary in HR. And so we hadn't had a full-time risk manager in quite a few years. And we saw that in claims and some not best safety practices. So we identified that along with finance and HR about 2 years ago, maybe 3. Deputy City Manager Tim Dodd did a study and a recommendation that we return to a developed and dedicated risk management program. And so HR started off the program development, and then I took it on, I think officially on January 1. And so I was involved in the hiring process along with the committee for the risk manager, Erica Gould, who was the paralegal in my office before she transferred over to risk management. We have seen that we have experienced a significant savings so far. And so we project returning $200,000 to the fund balance. And this is based on reduced claims, reduced damage payouts, because we are implementing best practices. Because of the program, we have also seen some reduction in our insurance premiums, and but certainly a reduction in the number of claims and claims payouts. So what I like seeing from this slide is an objective measure of the work of risk management. And we anticipate the risk manager's full-time salary will be more than pay for itself through the savings in the fund. Next slide, please. So you just saw the city manager's very detailed list of accomplishments. Unfortunately, because of my work, my biggest accomplishments are confidential, and so I can't talk about them at all. So I have to find the things that we can share publicly about what we've accomplished. And as you can see, I drafted the slide August 11th, so it's quite some time ago. But at that time, we had already drafted a significant number of legislation and legal opinions. We also have implemented formalized legal request system and legal request trackings. And so we know exactly how many legal requests we've received, how many we've completed. So we completed 318 formal legal requests, and that was just through August 11th. We also have negotiated significant settlements. And so that $1 million amount is what was initially claimed from third parties. And as of August 11th, we were able to settle all of those claims to date for $117,000. What we found is most people don't understand that the city has immunity under the CGIA, called the Colorado Government Immunity Act. And so we spend a lot of time explaining that to people, that the city isn't liable for that. This is taxpayer money. We can't, while we understand and empathize with the fact that they've had experienced some sort of damage, that we can't use public money to compensate them. One thing we are really happy about as well, and this is risk management. Risk management largely isn't confidential, which is why I can talk about a lot of risk management in this presentation. When we took over risk management, our CIRSA annual audit score was 45, and anything less than 70 is considered a failure. And this last year we got 100% score on the CIRSA audit, with the risk manager heading it up. So tremendous improvement in a very short amount of time. We've also digitized all of our documents. When I started in 2021, I couldn't believe that we still had we had 2 full rooms of paper files, and so we have digitized them, uploaded them to Laserfiche, and then categorized them. And doing that means, of course, we kept copies of the scans electronically in various locations, but because we could shred the original documents, that opened up a room for the risk manager's office. So what was our former file room is now a full service office at the Civic Center. We also created a database of legal opinions so that those can be referenced, and which I use that quite a bit. We just had a question about use of the city logo that I was able to look through all the old opinions that we've ever issued on that. And so to have that resource and not have to repeat that work, it just makes us more productive and accurate, and it ensures we're consistent. In addition, we've been really focused on developing additional expertise within our office, and I am currently in the middle of a 1-year affordable housing certificate program at the university, or Denver University. We also the deputy city attorney is working on her ADA coordinator certificate, and our admin is working on her paralegal certificate. And we've really been focusing our admin has on developing more expertise in Excel. So I think the more expertise we have, the better, faster service we can provide. Challenges, that vacancy that I already mentioned. It means we saved some money on our budget, but it was difficult to keep up with the workload. We did eventually have to just outsource some things to outside counsel that we normally would do in-house. But it took us until, I believe, June. So we had a vacancy from January to June before we finally said, okay, the 2 of us, deputy city attorney and I, just can't do it anymore. But because of that, we will have some money savings, I think. And then other challenges just citywide, when staff tries to resolve issues on their own, which love people showing initiative and working hard, but not recognizing when we would like to be involved or should be involved. So we drafted an SOP about when staff should contact legal, such as if the other site has an attorney, then just bring us in, we'll handle it for you. Or if someone's threatening a lawsuit, just bring us in, we'll handle it from there. So since we've issued that SOP, which was about the time that I drafted this slide, we haven't had an issue since. So our staff is very dedicated and works hard, and when we ask them to do something or give them clear direction, then they do it. So I would say we can cross that challenges space off the list because we addressed it and resolved it. The development of the risk management program from scratch was a huge task, and I really didn't appreciate how much work it is. We are rolling it out January 1, and so we've developed SOPs and policy manuals and forms and SharePoint pages and QR codes, and it was just a bigger task, a bigger strain on my time than I was expecting, honestly. But we're working hard and we're getting it rolled out on January 1. We also used Brown and Caldwell, which is outside consultant that South Platte Renew also used for their safety program development. And we have branding and safety culture assessments, and they've really assisted in this process as well. Finally, this year has been, if you've read the news recently, there's been a lot of litigation claims, just other legal issues at the city, much more than we've seen in the past. And so it's our office. We assist in all of those litigation and claims. Specifically, we take them on and resolve them. And so especially being a election year, we had a lot of campaign related claims, and we've worked with the city clerk to resolve all of those and respond. And this has been a very busy year for legal. And we don't have any capital projects, so easy slide on that one. I would welcome any questions you have.
I have a question. So, with the bulk of claims that we've gotten that seem like they may be different from past years just be related to those elections, or are there other categories that we saw, significant increases in?
I think just because it's an election year, we did see a lot of election campaign related claims or complaints. Not really claims, but complaints. But the bulk of our time really is spent on actual claims against like police, or we've seen a spike in our policing claims. And so I know I've been sued. I was personally named in 2 lawsuits this year, and so that's different as well. So we just found out another new lawsuit was filed last Friday. So it just seems like we're entering into a litigious era perhaps, and so we either defend those ourselves, or we have an agreement with CIRSA, our insurer, where then at a certain dollar amount, we send it to CIRSA and they defend. Because of this, though, both for staff time and for the risk management budget, in next year we have lowered some of our deductibles for CIRSA so that they will take on more and that we will do less in-house. Even with that, our insurance quote came in significantly less than what we were projecting. So hopefully it calms down, but we plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Thank you very much. That's helpful.
Anyone else? Anyone online? All right. Thank you very much for the presentation. Just real quick, I wanted to check in with James. How have you been hearing everything so far?
Thanks for asking. It seems like as people lean a little closer to their microphones, it comes in very clearly, but other times not so much. But I'm leaning in really closely, and I have my speaker turned up all the way, so I'm following along. Thanks for asking.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, great. We'll move on with the finance department report. Here's our estimated return to fund balance. We're about 90% of our budget is personnel, and we have not had a vacancy until just recently. You know about that one. So we're going to probably return a little bit to fund balance based on personnel savings. We also have a little bit of savings in contractual services, and that's our financial advisory services. We budget a little bit every year just in case a project comes up that we need some research or some assistance on for maybe borrowing some money or something like that. And we didn't really have any of that this year, so we were able to return that to the fund balance. So some of our accomplishments, again, almost everything we do is mandated by someone, either by city charter, by the county, by the state, or by the federal government. So we don't take on a lot of individual new projects. We do assist other departments a lot. But these first 4 bullet points are things that we're required to do every year. But there are accomplishments tied to those if you meet certain standards. And so for our annual financial report, for our budget, and for the budget, we did receive achievement awards from the Government Finance Officers Association. That's our primary organization that sets rules and standards for us as far as reporting goes. So our 2023 annual report, we're always a year behind because we have to go through our audit after the year end. So our 2023 annual report did receive that award. The 2024 budget has, the 2025 budget received that award. We've applied for those awards again for the 26 budget, and we have for the 2024 annual report. We do anticipate receiving those, but you never know until they actually take it through the scoring process. One other major thing we did this year is we worked with the city attorney's office and we updated the city's municipal code as it relates to sales and use tax. We put in some language directly related to online sellers. It's called a nexus, and that while that didn't add any additional requirements for them to collect and submit taxes to us, it seems to have made a difference in what they were looking for to tell them that they were required to. Internet sales were taxable and that they needed to submit those to us. We have seen an uptick in collections since we did that. We did a full overhaul of our procurement procedures manual and also our purchasing card manual. We've implemented a new software platform for procurement. It's an online process where before it was more of a manual process. This gives us access to, I think, over 800,000 vendors, where we were limited to more Colorado vendors before. So we get a lot more responses to our solicitations. And it's also more automated. We're able to track contracts more specifically. It warns us when contracts are within a year of being expiring, so we know we need to work on not letting those lapse if we want to continue with those. That has been an issue in the past. We're also able to work on solicitations go through that same software program. So it's much more automated than what we've had in the past. Some challenges. This first button isn't as much of a challenge, and I think I mentioned to a couple of you before we started the meeting, but we haven't had a staff opening for a little over a year. We do have one now, and we've received a significantly higher number of applicants for that position than what we've had. So the job market does seem to have changed a little bit over the last year and a half. So we're hoping that we'll have some qualified candidates that come out of that. These next two bullet points kind of point to internal systems and upgrades that sometimes we weren't always getting notified of before departments needed finance staff time to help with the implementations. We do now have a position on our IT committee that approves those prior to that, so we now get notified much sooner in the process. So that's a big help for us. One other challenge we do still have is our tax licensing and revenue collection system. It's a little bit antiquated. We're not able to run some of the reporting we would like to out of there. It's still fully functional, but we're researching some alternatives. There aren't too many companies that are specifically able to do municipal sales tax collections. Much like the city attorney, typically we don't have any capital projects that are tied directly to us. We do assist other departments on a regular basis. One system that we're looking at replacing is our Human Resource Information System, which is UKG, what we use now. We've gone through about 2 rounds of interviews and demonstrations with other companies. We've narrowed it down to a couple. We've got Paycom listed here. We're not sure if we're going with them. They're the front runner right now. But that would be a major implementation for us in the upcoming months. And we'd open it up for any questions for finance.
This is James online. Could you say a little bit more about what kind of precipitated the decision to look at a new HRIS and payroll provider?
Sure. UKG, which is our current current system. It's good for some things, but it's a company that's been built on mergers with other companies. They've bought out a significant number of companies, and they strap it together. So you so often are working with 2 or 3 databases trying to get reports and things of that nature, and we've really struggled with that. Our HR department has struggled with that and not being able to get some reports that we're required to submit either to the state or to other agencies. And we also, over the last probably 6 to 9 months, their customer service has really dropped off. And so we were really disappointed with that. Those are the 2 big reasons.
Thank you.
One other question I would ask, this is the new abbreviated format. If you have any input, if you like it better, we did that to try to save some more time for your other projects. But if you'd like any tweaks, now would be a good time, because before we get to the rest of the departments, since this is your first look at that, the new process.
I felt things moved pretty smoothly. Anybody else have any objection to that?
I know we ask for a lot within a short time frame, and if anything, maybe ask for a few more things in less time. I just want to say y'all did a great job. Personally, I don't feel super strongly about us maintaining such short presentation times, but I think y'all did really, really well considering the ask from this group.
I echo that. I think it was really great presentations and very concise.
All right, thank you to the presenters today. Next thing on our agenda is to continue the capital improvement prioritization process metrics discussion in preparation for the November 13th meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission. James, I do want to allow you to take the floor. We did miss your presence at the last meeting, and I know improving the capital improvement prioritization process is something that you've been vocal about.
Thanks for that, Jay. And I don't think my travel schedule is going to allow me to attend that meeting on the 13th. But I think, for me, the main outcome that I would like to see is simply that those of us on the Budget Advisory Committee have a tool that we feel really comfortable with and that we feel is contributing in a very meaningful way to the advice that we're providing to council ultimately. So that really has been my major focus, has really been, I guess, in some ways quite pragmatic and focusing on the tool. Because I think we've evolved over the last, it's been 3 years now that we've done the CIP prioritization process, and it seems like we've brought more and more kind of criteria to bear, and I just wanted to make sure that the tool reflects that.
Thank you, James. Does anyone have any additional comment on the capital improvement prioritization process metrics before we move on? I know we discussed it last month, but is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up before our meeting on the 13th?
I wasn't here last month, but I reviewed the minutes and footage from last month, and I think some of what it sounds like we're hoping to accomplish could be meaningfully accomplished just by adding commentary to some of the different proposals. That being said, I very much like some of the ideas, if they're not too much of an if they don't put too much of an impetus on the staff, just regarding matching the order of different items, and I think that was a great suggestion.
I took a second look at the rubric over the past couple of weeks and thought that one way we could potentially simplify the process. I'd be curious for some input on this, but there were several categories on the rubric that seemed to be a little bit more objective. So department ranking, I felt that could have been pre-filled potentially. That is, it was just copy paste. There were a few others there as well. I thought project use, operating impacts, and whether or not something leveraged outside funding sources was specified in the document. Perhaps there's room. I didn't see a lot of room for kind of subjective interpretation of those items, so I thought that could cut down significantly on the workload and prevent some errors. So yeah, that was another area that I identified, unless anyone thinks that there's some subjective room in any of those categories.
No, I think I'm in agreement with what you saw, and it's something that was brought up last year as well. Okay, so just to ask the group, who is going to be able to attend the November 13th meeting?
I think that I'm very likely able to attend.
All right.
I'll be in attendance.
All right, I will be as well. And we will bring up those items that we brought up tonight with the group and see what they have to say as well from their end over at the Planning and Zoning Commission. Then moving on to continue our discussion on the general fund reserve policy discussion and edits. I was able to make some edits to the document this morning, adding trigger number 3. Was there any other additional edits that were made over the last month or in the last day since I took a look at it?
I'm not aware of any changes over the past day, but just a few small tweaks over the past couple weeks. Thank you to all of those that were able to attend last month's meeting and were able to put work into that.
I, Jay, have a process question, and I'm curious, what is or is there a plan that's been discussed? And again, I apologize that I was not involved last month, to present this or represent this to City Council. I know that's something that you, Peter, and I talked about when we presented the annual report to Council in August, I believe it was.
Yes, I can't remember what we decided upon from last month. I'd have to go back and look. But I think the intention is that we get this to a what I would call in my line of work the minimum viable product of having something that we can work on with the council, maybe in a separate working session or at a meeting, depending on the progress that we make with it. But I can't really remember what date or if we had a plan for what date we would do that. Is there anything?
I don't know if we had planned specifically. I think there was a mention of the election and waiting for any transitional pieces. So I think we were in a bit of a holding pattern.
Yeah, I think at this point that would be a good idea to we'll have at least 2 new council members seated. So sometime between beginning of the year and maybe end of February-ish. That'll get that in your presentation in front of them before we start the budget process.
Okay, so perhaps we plan on saying that we will have this presentation finished by our December date and then be available to present January and February as things move with the council schedule.
At least like a finalized draft,
Yes.
I agree, yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you.
And then we have our upcoming meeting schedule. I'll leave that for everyone to read on their own. But December 4th, just for planning purposes, we have department presentations from Inglewood Downtown Development Authority, Community Development Department, and Communications. And at this point, I will open up the meeting to members' choice. All right. And staff choice?
Jay, I'm sorry, could I chime in one more time?
Sure.
I think it's timely that we're going to have the downtown development commission or presentation here coming up. Just as a somewhat longtime resident of Inglewood, I was really saddened to see one of our major supermarkets close this last month. And I think it's a real setback to the city in terms of revenue, but also in terms of the intentionality and effort that has been put into developing the wellness corridor. And I do hope that there's continued intentionality to do something about that space so that we don't have another large tract of empty retail blighting our city as we have had for some time in the central part of Inglewood.
Thank you, James. And then just to go back to members' choice, I'll go ahead and take that. I do expect to try to keep everybody on task a little bit with the reserve policy document. I would like us to be able to at least read through it on our December 4th meeting and make any small edits that we may need to, because we still have that time going into January. But I do think at least the first draft should be our target. And so I'll be working with Chair Eccles to move, to just get some emails out and keep reminders. I know that this time of year, especially for me, it is the worst time of year for me to keep track of anything except what I'm working on right in front of me. So I completely understand. But, I think we've been working on this for a very long time. We have an opportunity to really make some moves on it and help the council with it. So just expect some communications from me. And sorry, any further from the staff?
Nothing from us tonight.
Thank you. All right. And at this time, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.